Being started, called to order. Certification of quorum, please.
Yes, Chair, more than 50% of the members are present.
Okay. Before we get into the review of the agenda and the minutes, et cetera, I just want to apprise the board of a meeting that was proposed to take place at 8 a.m. It was a briefing of all the conservation authorities in Ontario with the government of Ontario. With 15 minutes to spare, that meeting was canceled. I've been here since about 7:30, so my day is almost over. So we'll get the meeting going as quickly as possible. But essentially, our understanding is, and Sam may want to also add a few comments, that there was further amendments planned to the Conservation Act. That's what we believe to be the case. I've not seen any confirmation of that. They had canceled our briefing at one point. The presser was still on for 10 a.m. and that now has been canceled as well. Sam, anything further on that? Okay. Any questions of the board, of me or Sam with respect to this? Okay. Here's a suggestion. Your MPPs are going to be home this weekend. You're probably going to run into them at various events in your communities, and you might want to pose the question. They may not know, but any intelligence would be helpful. And I meant that in the most positive way, knowing this is a public meeting. So anyway, so we'll review the agenda, and the agenda, by the way, as the board knows, has been amended. I added an in-camera item. So what I'm asking you to do is approve the agenda as amended. So I need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Brian, seconded by Doug. Any discussion? All in favor? It's carried. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we'll move on to the minutes of the previous meeting. I need a mover and a seconder for that, please. Moved by Sean, seconded by Rob. Any questions of the published agenda or the published minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. There is no business arising from the minutes, no delegations this morning. There is a presentation by Fahid, and as you know, this is part of the education and relationship process between the board and senior management. We have a member of senior management presenting on a monthly basis an item of business from part of the organization. I think everybody here knows Fahid very well. He's with us every month, typically presenting and answering questions about his area of expertise. So Fahid, over to you.
Thank you very much, through you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. Going over a very brief overview of Flood Operations Department this morning. Here we are presenting the organizational chart. We have around 10 staff in the department, delivering primarily two programs or two responsibilities. On one side, it's the delivery of our flood forecasting and warning program. On the other side, it's providing engineering review of development applications. And we are fortunate to have a very tight collaboration with other departments, including IT, planning regulations, and water infrastructure group. As I go forward, I'll explain further, delivering our responsibilities. I start with hydrometric data collection and management. Here at the Grand River watershed, we have around 60 stream flow gauges, around 30 rain gauges, and 7 climate stations, and a few other monitoring equipment across the watershed that our staff are out and about throughout the year, conducting measurements to ensure that all those stream flow gauges and measurements are accurate and to the best available quality that's possible. We use some even newer technologies such as drone boats to improve the quality of our measurements. All those information come back to the office, and the staff use some sophisticated data management tools to process the data, and that processed data and all the hydrometric data that's calculated are later on fed to our systems to support some decision-making tools, such as charts that you see for showing the stream flow gauges, reservoir operations, the reservoir levels, and also all the charts and information that is provided on our website. For this, we have had a lot of support from both the Water Infrastructure Department and IT Department. So it's a very tight collaboration with all departments to provide that information to internally and public. We also use all the information and available technical resources to us for our flood forecasting and warning. It's called the Grand River Flood Forecasting System, or GRIFS. In summary, we have a roster of 6 senior operators that are capable of running this software and delivering the program. So a lot of basically forecast that happens prior to the events or through the system, which is supported by all the hydrometric data that's being collected. We conduct floodplain mapping and modeling, and that could be either regulatory floodplain mapping that you can see on our website, or it can be the reach-based mapping that we do in support of our municipal partners for communication of flooding messaging to the public, or the improvement of the flood communication to public, basically. Our staff are actively involved in that. We are also involved in water management, the low water response team, and we lead it here at the watershed. We provide a lot of statistical analysis on all those gathered monitoring information that supports a lot of decision making, whether it be reservoir operation or all the information that you see at the end of the board report every month for watershed conditions. They all come from the assessment that the staff do on all the information. On the other side of the department, we provide support to our planning and regulation department in delivering engineering review of development applications. I've developed 3 graphs here that show how many submissions we were reviewing over the past 3 years. Well, 2025 is not complete yet, but every year we have around 700 submissions, plus or minus, that cover a wide range of applications, whether it be subdivisions, site plans, permitting applications, floodplain analysis, or slope stability analysis. All those are covered by our staff, and we try to do them in a timely manner, and we are very fortunate that we've had a lot of support for our planning and regulation departments. As for future, we have several items on our books. We have plans to enhance our flood forecasting program from all aspects, whether it be software, hardware, or even staff skills. We are going to be running a program asset management to identify areas of improvement, and also we will be spending some resources on better understanding of climate change impact in the watershed and optimization of our reservoir operations, given the recent changes that we're seeing in the climate and the weather. That was a very brief overview of the department. More than happy to provide any questions.
Thanks, Vahid. Are there any questions of Vahid with respect to his presentation? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Oops. Oh, sorry, Sandy, didn't see you. Go ahead.
That's okay. Thanks. Thanks, Vahid, for the presentation. I have some residents who are really interested in flood management and emergency management, and I know we've talked about that before, but just can you tie in what you do to also emergency management? And I see in the capital plan too that there's lots of work being done on the dams to ensure that everything is safe, but I just wonder if you can comment on that for people that might be listening.
Certainly, through you, Chair. We have a lot of collaboration with our water infrastructure, Caitlin's team, on dam safety. A lot of dam safety studies have been conducted to ensure that in case of very unlikely but extreme rainfall events, the safety of our dams, our infrastructure, and the residents looking downstream are upheld and maintained. What we do here is basically delivering our flood forecasting and warning program, which is aimed to provide the safety of all the residents. We have a roster of duty officers, around 12, and 6 senior operators that are all on call 24/7, no matter what time of the year it is. We're constantly monitoring rainfall and flows across the watershed, and we have open line of communications for both public and members of municipal organizations to contact us and provide us any questions, and we will provide answers as soon as possible.
Any further questions, Sandy?
Yeah, if I could just follow up on that. So how do you determine, because I know this is a question that's come up usually when we've got a high water, but how do you determine what the optimum level is in the reservoirs? And I think we've talked about that before, but it's worth repeating.
Sure. Through you, Chair. If you take a look at the charts that we have on our website, we have this notion of the green lines that are called rule curves. Those rule curves are the results of significant and extensive studies that were conducted following the flooding that occurred in 1974, as per the Royal Commission inquiry into that flooding event. And those rule curves were developed to address a network or a combination of considerations such as flooding, water supply, and downstream flood management capacity for the structures that are located in the watershed. So to answer your question, the optimum reservoir level is determined by those rule curves, and we try to follow them as much as possible.
Any further questions, Sandy? Okay. Any further questions from the board? Thank you. All right. The next item of business is correspondence, and I'll take a mover and a seconder, and then if people have any comments about what they've read, moved by Pam, seconded by Gord. Any questions of staff with respect to any of the correspondence that we've received? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Mr. Chair, I got a
carried.
question if I could.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry, David.
That's
Go ahead.
okay. Just a question of procedure or process, I guess. Because they talk about tree cutting bylaws, tree bylaws, things like that. And I think every municipality has them. And I'm just wondering, I'm assuming, but I want to ask, when the GRCA is in, when they have lands in the municipality, I assume that they have to follow the municipal's tree bylaws? Is that a fair statement?
Through you, Chair, yes, that's correct. We're not exempt from it.
Okay, so you guys have to know all, what is it, 22, 23 municipal bylaws then?
Yeah, it's a large number. Yep.
Okay, okay, just checking that. Thank you.
David, assuming that every municipality on the watershed has a tree cutting bylaw, it's actually 38.
I knew it was more than 22, but 30. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, you're
Chair.
welcome. Thanks for the question, and I apologize for not catching you. Okay, reports. So, oh yes, I did call the question. All in favor? Okay. The next matter is the budget discussion, and I just want to say, first of all, I'm very pleased to see the attendance this morning here at the board because of this particular item. Probably the most important thing that we will review and eventually approve in February is the annual budget. So I very much appreciate your attendance here, and I look forward to the questions. And Krista, I understand. Oh, you're next. Sorry. It's my chair's report. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So with respect to my chair's report, I do typically identify three things that I raise with you just from that report. I'm going to kind of get away from that this time because there's really only one really important thing, and that is the fact that we have a new member. And that's important. It's important that every community be properly represented. Pushlinch was well represented by Chris White, and now it will be represented by its mayor, James Seeley. And I just want to introduce James and give him an opportunity to say a few words as not only now a member of our board, but he is the mayor of Pushlinch. So James, welcome.
It's great to be here. I have very little experience with conservation authority, so that's part of my motivation. We all know there's an upcoming election and no idea what could happen then, so I wanted to get my toes wet a little bit, just to have a better understanding. And Chair, I am a little disappointed. I thought the attendance here today was due to my presence and being the first, but if it's because of the budget, I still appreciate that. There's some familiar faces around the horseshoe, and I look forward to getting to know everybody.
Thank you, and welcome, and we look forward to your interaction with the board and staff in the future. So I need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Jerry, seconded by Colleen. Dan, do you have a question before we call the vote?
Yeah, through the chair, I just want to dispute that there's lack of attendance because everybody's getting ready for the Blue Jays. I just want to make that known. Sorry.
And Dan, I will add that I appreciate you wearing that. It's an important time in Canada's history. It doesn't happen very often. It's been over 30 years. So thank you for your support and obvious support, by the way. Very much appreciated. So I'll call the question. All in favor? Very good. So the next matter is municipal apportionment. There isn't a presentation on this one. It's coming. But if there's any questions, staff are here to answer any questions you might have on that formula. I need a mover or seconder, though, please. Moved by Sean, seconded by Pam. Are there any questions of staff with respect to this report? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. So the next item of business is a presentation, and it is the budget draft one. You saw a sense of that last month. Staff were looking for direction in that regard, and the board provided it. So now we'll see the budget itself, and as you know, it doesn't receive final approval until early next year, February. But this is the start of the process. And as I said before, I very much appreciate the attendance this morning because this is probably the most important item we will discuss this year. So please proceed.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Chair, through you. I'm pleased to present to you this morning the 2026 draft budget. So I'll start by highlighting some of the budget challenges impacting 2026. They include that the GRCA is impacted by the current economic climate, including inflation, supply chain issues, cost pressures arising from the impact of tariffs, and skilled labor shortages. Projections of conservation area revenue can also be a challenge as it's impacted largely by consumer demand and weather. A few other notable challenges worth mentioning are that the environmental education program is in transition. We have aging infrastructure, and we're faced with increasing demands on land management. And as with many other organizations, we face keeping pace with digital innovation and technological advancements to help improve service delivery and process efficiency, as highlighted in our strategic plan. A major budget assumption is that conservation area revenue is expected to increase based on 2025 trends. However, this program is also faced with increasing operating costs related to compensation and inflationary cost pressures related to infrastructure as well as operational needs. It's expected that the schedule continues to realize a deficit as relates to hazard tree management, Luther operations, and management costs. At this time, we're budgeting to see an increase in plan review and permit revenue as a result of an upward trend seen in 2025, but we will be monitoring this estimate and adjusting as applicable in the final 2026 budget. Another budget assumption is that the outdoor education program assumes a status quo budget and anticipates renewal of school contracts in the fall of 2026. The environmental education program deficit will continue to be funded with the transition reserve in the 2026 budget. Any changes to the program model will be reflected in the final budget draft or through forecast adjustments as applicable. As mentioned previously, we have estimated an increase of 5% corporately to account for all factors impacting compensation and benefit costs. And our preliminary assumptions include that we will continue to fund 2 positions with reserves. We plan to phase in these costs to be funded by apportionment in future budgets. Compensation and benefit costs will also be impacted by the collective bargaining process, which is expected as a result of the upcoming collective agreement expiry at the end of 2025. As highlighted in the September board report, we have proposed a 3.5% apportionment increase in the 2026 budget. It should be noted that we are managing the impact of the compensation survey wage adjustment through a phased approach in the 2025 and 2026 budget years, and by utilizing reserves in the short term to allow for a phased approach to increasing apportionment. Under the new regulations, we're required to consider all funding sources, including self-generated revenue, to help finance the authority's operations. This slide highlights Category 3 program results and shows that a net surplus of approximately $261,000 has been allocated to general operating expenses, which helps us reduce the amount of the apportionment ask. For additional details, refer to Appendix B on page 41 of your package. This slide illustrates a summary of the change in each operating, capital, special projects, and funding to reserves as compared to the 2025 approved budget. I will speak to each of these categories in the following slides. The overall budget decrease in this draft is approximately $600,000, although it's typical to add special projects in the following budget drafts, and therefore the final budget is not expected to decrease from prior year. So this slide highlights some of the material changes and assumptions impacting the 2026 operating budget. So the 5% compensation and benefit adjustment takes into account the full year impact of the market adjustments that became effective July 1st, 2025, as well as an estimate of January 1st rate increases, grid movements, and benefit cost increases. Insurance expenses have been increased by 2025 actual costs plus 5%. Administrative information system charges are continuing to see a 10% increase from prior year budget. Operating expense increases have occurred in program areas most impacted by existing inflationary cost pressures, with conservation area expenses increasing by $660,000 over prior year, primarily related to increased projection of costs associated with visitor volume. The budget does exclude one-time budget expenses for items that were carried forward from 2025 from 2024 results, totaling of about $400,000. So these are not included in this budget draft. Any surplus carry forward from 2025 results will be considered in the final budget draft. The overall outcome on operating expenses is an increase of $1.2 million or 3.7% from prior year. The operating budget represents $32.6 million of the overall draft budget. This is broken down by allocating $4.3 million in general operating expenses, $11.5 million in Category 1, $1.2 million in Category 2, and $15.6 million in Category 3. Examples of the programs and services included in each category are outlined on this slide. For capital, we have budgeted $5.6 million in expenses, made up of $3.2 million in Category 1 for water management infrastructure major maintenance and gauges and hardware, $400,000 in net motor pool and information system capital expenses requiring reserve funding, and $2 million for conservation areas capital. Special project expenditures incorporate a budget of about $1 million, made up of $965,000 in Category 2 for rural water quality grants, species at risk, and a subwatershed study, as well as $92,000 for Category 3 confirmed special projects. A notable change from prior years, there is no longer a budget for the Guelph Lake Nature Center, as it is expected to be completed by the end of this year. Other special projects will be incorporated into the final budget draft as agreements and financial expectations are finalized. This slide illustrates revenue by category. Approximately 1/3 of our revenue is from apportionment. Nearly 50% is self-generated, and government grants and reserves each account for approximately 10%. And again, note the final budget is expected to show increased revenue figures as confirmed special projects expenses and associated funding are finalized. So a 3.5% apportionment increase is proposed and results in an increase to $14,238,000, and that's a $481,000 increase from prior year. Each 1% of apportionment accounts for about $140,000 in funding. Staff sought board direction on overall apportionment target at the September meeting and have been responding to municipal information requests to help inform their 2026 budgets as well. So the information shared today is for board consultation purposes. Next steps will be to distribute the draft 2026 budget to municipalities, and in December, the board will finalize municipal apportionment. Typically, there are no changes to apportionment after the October draft. In December, a notice will be sent to municipalities regarding the apportionment vote, which is to occur in January. And that concludes the 2026 draft budget presentation. Thank you for your time and attention, and I'd be happy to take any questions you might have at this time.
Thanks, Kyla. If I could see the screen, see if there's any questions. Are there any questions with respect to the proposed budget? Dan, go ahead, please.
Through the chair. Thanks for the presentation. Just a quick question here with regard to the educational component. I know one of the problems we've been having or challenges is getting some contracts or getting the school boards on more committed to our centers like apps and Taquania to mention those two. Is there any new direction maybe or ways that we can maybe push or gently massage them to come on board more committed to us to help with that?
And by the way, Rob, I've got you listed as a questioner as well as David Miller. So you'll be up after we're finished answering Dan's questions. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thanks for the question. So we are continuing conversations with respect to the nature centers that operate outside of conservation areas with the different partners, including school boards.
Is there optimism that we can get more commitment from them? Because my understanding is from when we've been discussing these issues with keeping the centers open is that we need the school boards and their capital to be coming into us to make it viable.
We continue to have those conversations and the different options that are available, and there are many partners at the table. So those conversations are ongoing.
That's a good political answer. Thanks.
Yeah, I think the issue, Dan, is that it's, as you know, it's a negotiation and those
Yeah.
things are not public. But if you're looking for an update, I think we can probably give you a more fulsome update once we go in camera.
Yeah, no, that's good. It just, I know we, Councillor Shirton and I have had the public in our area in Haldeman reach out to us because the thought of maybe Taquania having to close like other ones, they want to see it going. Like many of us have grown up in that center, and it's good for those, especially that move into our area that have come from an urban environment that don't get an opportunity, or they haven't till that time, to have a field trip through their school to understand the conservation areas and nature for that matter. So anyways, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, your concern. Sam has something she'd like to say with respect to that.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. So the programs themselves are not shutting down, or we're going to continue them. They're just going to be continued at potentially different locations. So it's not that the programs themselves aren't going to be offered or continue to be offered. It's just the facilities, as you mentioned, are aging and requires significant capital investment. And as Lisa mentioned too, we're working with all of the partners. I would say right now we have been focused more on the Brantford, the Apps Mills one, but we are continuing and open to talking with Haldeman County and Six Nations as well in terms of Taquania.
And Dan, I think don't hesitate to ask the question in camera, and we'll see what else we can provide you as background for it. But I think everybody shares your perspective on this, so thank you for that. Rob?
Yes, through the chair, this is impacts all of the GRCA, but especially our Dunville area. I don't know if there's specific information or more info for the upgrades required for Bing Park's pool. I know they were looking at different options, and I don't know if we have any more info on the plan to go forward with the pool there in Dunville, the Bing Island pool.
Yeah, there's a report later in the agenda on that. And so, hold your questions until that point. We'll gladly deal with them. Is there anything else related to the budget that you've got questions about?
Sorry, I just wanted to get that on the floor in the budget time. I knew it was later also, but I guess that
Yep.
just for the viewing public. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Appreciate it, Rob. David?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I was pleased in reading the budget. It seems very much like a stand pat budget, and I know there's some cost pressures, which they talk about, inflation and supply chain issues and labor costs, but I'm a little concerned about the general economy. I mean, we got Cami and Ingersoll talking about closing. Those guys used to employ 3,000 people at one time, and we got quite a few people in my area that work there, used to work there. I was talking to Gary McNamara down in Essex. They're at 11% unemployment. So just like I said, I'm glad it's a stand pat budget, just in light of what's going on in the general economy, because I think this slowdown might be with us for another year or two. So just wanted to share that comment. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I do appreciate the presentation this morning. First of all, thanks, Sam, for the update or for Apps Mill. Mayor Davis contacted me the other day, and he just wanted to show his support for this proposed budget, and City of Brantford is quite happy with it. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Are there any other questions with respect to the budget? Okay, I need a mover and a seconder to receive it. As you know, we're not approving it. Moved by Brian, seconded by Jim. Any further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. The next matter is kind of really a part of the budget discussion as well, and that's the fee policy. And if there are questions in individual areas, we have staff here to answer those questions depending on their area of responsibility and your question of them. But first, I need a mover and a seconder to get it on the floor. So could I move by Sean, seconded by Matt? Any discussion about the proposed fee policy at all? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. Oh, sorry, Gord. My apologies. Go ahead.
Just one of them, I noticed in Pinehurst, the rental facility fees for White Oaks and in particular for the Sunset Shelter are going up fairly substantially. And I was just wondering what the explanation might be on that. 29% for White Oaks and 107%, I think it was, for Sunset.
Okay. Heard the question?
Great. Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for asking that question. We've been going through the process of aligning our fees for similar type facilities from different conservation area to different conservation area. And these were two pavilions that are similar in size to all of the other sites, but for whatever reason had got missed a couple years ago on upgrading the fees. So they're the same size as other pavilions that we offer at different parks. And we were just aligning them with being the same fee for renting them out.
Anything further? Okay. I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. So the next matter is the monthly financial summary. I need a mover and a seconder to receive that information. Moved by Bruce, seconded by David. Any questions of staff with respect to that financial summary? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. The next matter is cash and investment status. Same thing. Basically, we're receiving information that staff have prepared for us. I need a mover and a seconder to receive this. Moved by Jerry, seconded by Gord. Any questions of staff with respect to this? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. The next matter is the 2026 board meeting schedule. I figured this might be the hottest topic this morning. Perhaps I'm wrong. Sue, am I wrong? Anyway, I need a mover or second to receive that schedule. Moved by Dan, who's now president of the Toronto Blue Jays, by the way. Second by Pam. All in favor? It's carried. Quarterly permit report. This is kind of a receipt item. I need a mover or seconder to take any questions. Moved by Colleen, seconded by Jim. Any questions of staff with respect to this report? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. And then the water control infrastructure major maintenance forecast. I need a mover and a seconder for that report, please. Moved by Matt, seconded by David. You want to move that? Or second
Yes,
that?
and I'd like to make a
Got a
comment.
question as well. Okay, so you're going to second that and we'll take your question, please. Go ahead.
And again, not a question, but a comment. And like Brian, I also had a chat with the mayor of the city of Brantford, Kevin Davis, and he wanted the board to know and staff to know that the city of Brantford is very supportive of the planned capital works for the dike project in the city. And that will be occurring over the 2027-2030 period. And we know it's not cheap, but we're looking at about $3 million for those works. But we also know that a flooding event can exceed that $3 million cost by magnitude. So just passing on the message that the city of Brantford very supportive of this report.
Thanks, David. Are there any other questions or comments? Matt, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And through you, just a quick question on the funding side. My read of it is that there's a large portion of the funding that's contingent on applications for grants and other sources of dollars. And I'm just wondering if you could comment on our success rate and you know, we're scaling up in the next few years and how it all fits together in terms of getting those applications in, our success rate, and any risks if things don't come through. Thanks.
Through you, Chair. One of the funding programs that is mentioned most heavily through the report is the Ministry of Natural Resources Water and Erosion Control Infrastructure Fund. It's an annual fund that's open to conservation authorities that have water and erosion control infrastructure, so flood control, dams, dikes, and bank or erosion control infrastructure. It's a very well-defined program with well-defined scoring. Our large dams, because of the very high hazard associated with the dams, they get a high score among all the different structures that would be applying in any given year. So if we're doing major maintenance on one of the flood control dams, based on past experience, they are usually successful. Same with the flood control dikes because of the high hazard associated with those. They are usually scoring very high. It depends year to year what the applications are from all the conservation authorities. This is said with the assumption that the WECI program will continue on as it has in the past. It had just switched to 2-year application funding periods, which is ending March 31st, 2026. So we're anticipating there will be a call for applications winter 2026. And we're making the assumption that the program remains the same. You will see that we also have secured some federal funding for projects like the Bridgeport Dike. That's already in place. And then the other large source of funding that the flood control infrastructure is eligible is the GRCA land sale proceeds reserve, which working closely with Kaylee, we do work to balance what we can get from provincial and federal funding, the municipal apportionment, and that grant, that reserve, sorry.
Matt, any further questions? Okay, Sandy, go ahead.
Thank you. Just on the funding piece, because I see that there's a couple of rehab projects in Woolwich coming up. Is that something that you go to the municipality and work with them on the grant application? Are you expecting us to sort of see that and make an application, or do you actually make the application?
Through you, Chair. For GRCA-owned infrastructure, GRCA works on our own to make the funding applications. Where there will be impacts from the project to the community, we do notify staff, but that's an internal process at GRCA for funding.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy. Any other questions of staff with respect to this report? We have a mover and a seconder, so I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. The next matter is a report with respect to Grand Valley, Valdemar, and Drayton Flood Damage Assessment Study. I need a mover and a seconder for this report, please. Moved by Pam, seconded by Christine. Are there any questions of staff with respect to this report? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. So the next matter is the Conestoga Dam rehabilitation, Phase 5, project budget increase. I need a mover and a seconder, and then we'll have any discussion about that matter. Can I get a mover, please, for that? Moved by Pam, seconded by Sue. Any questions of staff with respect to this budgetary matter? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. The second last matter, actually is the last matter before we go on camera, are watershed conditions. Vahid was up here. Sorry, Jim, go ahead.
My finger's not moving as fast as it should. On the Conestoga Dam, I've had a fair amount of feedback from cottagers that are there. Like, what should they be expecting next summer season?
That's a fair question. Staff, what should they expect through this process?
It's a bit of a loaded question when we do rely on Mother Nature for some of it. In terms of construction impacts to the Conestoga Reservoir, we are planning to finish this phase, which has been quite impactful on those that use the reservoir over the past 2 years. We acknowledge the impacts, but it is a major project that we're thankful for our partners for supporting us. So we are quite low. So what we're going to be relying on Mother Nature is a good, healthy snowpack this winter, and that we can fill the reservoir to normal targets in the spring. Again, that's Mother Nature dependent. We have our reservoir operating rule curves, so we will take in water as we can. There are no planned drawdowns similar to the past 2 years that will be impacting the reservoir next year. Depending on funding opportunities, we do still have some major concrete repairs to do on the downstream of the gates, but that won't require the same level of impact that the past 2 years have.
Jim?
Sure, I was more concerned about the drawbacks. So you're saying that probably will not need to happen next summer if Mother Nature cooperates with the GRCA. Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And Jim, you might want to ask Vahid about his predictions for this winter, because he generally, puts us 3 months forward through all the agencies, boards, commissions that he reviews. And that is the next report, current watershed conditions. So I need a mover and a seconder first. Moved by Bruce, seconded by Guy. Any questions of Vahid about the future of our environment? And we're holding you to it, by the way. This is not the Farmer's Almanac. So no questions. Oh, sorry. Rob, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, if he's here and able, I thought one question would be appropriate. What is our current status of our reservoirs coming into the fall, winter season? And just know if our levels are high or low or where they're at in case we have any flooding, that we have reserves in our reservoirs.
And through you, Chair, as you heard, Conestoga is lowered intentionally for the concrete work. Other dams are also lower than their normal conditions. So if you look at with respect to capacity for future flooding, we're in a very good spot. But we're dealing with the other side of the business, which is low water right now at the moment.
Anything further? Any further questions? All right, I'll call the question then. All in favor? That's carried. So the next item is moving in camera. So I need a mover and a seconder to move in camera, please. Moved by Brian, seconded by Pam. All in favor? That carries, and we're moving in camera. Thank you. As we're out electronically, we'll finish the rest of the meeting. Okay, so we're back in open session. So minutes of the previous closed session, I need a mover and a seconder for those minutes, please. Moved by Colleen, seconded by Doug. All in favor? That's carried. Litigation or potential litigation, 13B. It relates to confidential report GM 1017. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Brian, seconded by Bruce. All in favor? That's carried. The next matter is information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board by Canada, a province or territory, or crown agency of any of them. And that, of course, relates to the fee policy. Need a mover or a seconder for that. Moved by James, seconded by Matt. All in favor? That's carried. And then report GM 1025 C19 be received as information. Mover and a seconder for that, please. Yes, Colleen, thank you. And James, all in favor? That's carried. And then the salary ranges for non-union positions be increased by 2.7% effective January 1st, 2026. Need a mover, please? Moved by Pam, seconded by Brian. All in favor? That's carried. Next meeting, of course, is November 28th at 9:30. Audit Committee follows that, and it's in person with the auditor. So look forward to that. I need somebody to move adjournment unless you want to stay for the rest of the day. Moved by Rob, seconded by Pam. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much for being here. Look forward to seeing you next month. Have a great month. I don't see a motion for that.